Have you ever thought about who you might have been in a past life? You ever look to the skies and think, are we all connected? My name is Anzalone, and this is What Matters Most. Today we're at the studios of Light Writing by Lucinda, and we're here to speak with Eve Kerwin, also known as White Buffalo Woman. A Lakota Sioux prophet and shaman, or an average everyday housewife from Connecticut? Let's go find out. My guest today is Eve Kerwin, who is renowned across the country and around the world as White Buffalo Woman. She carries the same divine feminine spirit as Mother Mary, Isis, Eve, and the ancient Chinese goddess Quan Yin. She's an accomplished shamanic healer and channeler, and she brings her clients profound messages of inspiration and guidance, working with each individual's emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies. Basically, a full inner being and outer being makeover. Welcome, Eve, White Buffalo Woman.
Thanks, Eric.
Great. So now, gotta ask, White Buffalo Woman, where did she come from?
Well, it's a true story. It's not a myth. Mm-hmm. White Buffalo Woman appeared to the Lakota Sioux people, mm-hmm. and she literally came from heaven. Not in a full incarnation, she literally came down from heaven and went and returned back to heaven as a white buffalo. The story is beautiful. It's quite in depth of what she brought through. She is the keeper of the pipe. This is the main reason why all the tribes, all the red men, the Native Americans smoke the pipe. We call it the peace pipe, but it's the sacred pipe.
Okay.
She taught them about God through the pipe. The pipe represents God, unity, oneness.
Okay, but how did you, you're Italian, right?
Yes, I am.
Yes, and from Connecticut. How did you stumble upon White Buffalo Woman? And I understand that this drum right here has something to do with that.
Absolutely. I was already on my spiritual path. I was already bringing through understanding and reading and attending different workshops and so forth and so on. But what really happened is that after my husband passed and my father passed as well together, independently of each other on the same weekend, very traumatic, so I started working with the drum. Now this beautiful drum here that comes with me everywhere, it's my best friend, it's my most prized possession.
Does it have a name?
No, it doesn't have a name, but drum, yeah. The drum was made for me by a wonderful drum maker who has passed. Unfortunately, he passed on, but he was a wonderful, wonderful drum maker. And when he made this drum for me, he also brought forth his own journey, and he gave me information in regard to my own personal guides. And he was dead on because one of my personal guides, his name is Olofi, and he's an African medicine man. And in a past life, he was my son-in-law when I was queen of an African village. My daughter, who's my daughter today, was married to Olofi. He was the medicine man. My daughter was his wife. And he is helping me today behind the scenes. He is responsible for bringing me into and through the trance state, which I bring myself through when I perform my healings.
You're a walk-in, or what
Yes.
people refer to a walk-in. To me, that's a closet or a cooler in a restaurant. What exactly then is a walk-in, and what you're describing, is that part of what being a walk-in is?
A walk-in is a soul transferal, and what that really means, and the easiest way to explain it, is that your soul that you were born with when you were birthed, of course, on some level, if let's say this wasn't my case, my personal case was very easy. It was a very easy transformation because I was already in agreement to go through the walk-in process. But many souls aren't in agreement. I mean, they're not even aware. And how that comes about is that, for example, if someone has an addiction, alcoholism, drugs, et cetera, and they're not able to move forward in their life, they can't get a grip on their life, they keep falling back. On some level, they give up. They just can't do it anymore. You might say they're suffering burnout. So on some level, they no longer wish to remain in that state of enduring their addiction. So they literally walk out of their body.
The soul leaves their body and another soul comes in.
Another soul walks in. And this is why many times when you know, maybe we could all say that we know someone who that actually happened to, but of course they weren't aware of it,
right,
that they were an alcoholic, and all of a sudden they've surpassed that challenge, and now they're totally transformed. Many cases, this is what a walk-in.
A walk-in. Okay, so then what happened to Beverly? Where did Beverly go? And do you still have contact with Beverly?
Her soul and my soul knew each other.
By the way, to clarify, Beverly is Eve's birth name, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
And so we knew each other from past lifetimes. We knew each other, and we created a contract, a soul contract, that she wished to come in to be birthed this lifetime, mainly concentrate on her early childhood years, and then she was going to exit. I agreed to come in and do what I'm doing today, but I didn't want to have to go through the birthing process, become the child, go through school.
So you wanted the easy route.
And so she left, I came in.
Gotcha.
But I have all her thoughts, her memories, everything, because I'm in her body, but I have her computer chip of all the cellular memories.
So why do you choose to call yourself White Buffalo Woman and not Isis or...
White Buffalo Woman is more of the imprint that is working with me in the form that needs to be worked through today. In other words, I'm truly in service to and through my fellow man, with my fellow man. So not that the other icons that we've mentioned weren't, but she, the form, when she literally came down, descended from heaven, and when she worked with the Lakota Sioux, that was the form on some level that I guess was most suited for my life at this time.
And I have to say, it's almost like there are no coincidences. If I didn't know you, I mean, I know you're Italian, I'm Italian too, so, you know, maybe I caught that, but I would swear you were Native American, right? So you already have this form.
Yes.
Your birth name was Beverly.
Yes.
And now it's Eve, which is part of Beverly. So it's like all of this sort of is.
It was
never meant.
orchestrated.
Yeah, it was orchestrated.
All orchestrated. It was all timing.
Yeah.
Absolute timing. Yes.
All right. Here, this is your book here, The Awakening, which is a wonderful book. I read it. I suggest everyone get a copy. Now, when you read this book, you realize that you were brought up Catholic, went to Catholic school, you Italian family, Sunday dinner, the whole.
Yes.
How did you develop the courage to run with something like this, which really is coming out of left field? I mean, my grandmother, may she rest in peace, would be flipping out that I was actually even talking to you. She'd be sitting here doing the sign of the cross. How did you let go enough to get to that point?
Well, you know, trust me, it was difficult with family members as well. Yeah. You know, everyone, it was just such a major transformation that they didn't quite understand what was happening with me. But once the process began, there was no stopping, literally. I mean, I couldn't have stopped it if I wanted to. I mean, there's no turning away. It just was basically like somebody pushed a button and said, ready, set, go, begin. And it just was rapid wildfire. That it was one incident after another, very rapidly. So it was all, again, divine timing. It was orchestrated to really kick in at a certain time, and it did.
And along with that, now you've had some experience with extraterrestrial, or
yes.
Would you say that? You know, I've actually studied some of this stuff. That ascended masters or even religious masters, or do you think that they'll all have some sort of relation to interdimensional beings or to other beings that we don't completely understand?
It's all tied in. You see, it's all tied in the lineage of the understanding of who these masters were. We may know the master as, let's say, Saint Germain. He's an ascended master. But he was also William Shakespeare. He was also Joseph, who was Jesus' father. Mm-hmm. Again, the same entity. So these masters, just as we, the people here, continue to reincarnate, they would reincarnate within the world at certain times when they were needed in different capacities. So it's all the same, one and the same. Mm. The ET realm absolutely is connected to everything. I mean, the ET realm, you know, they're higher dimensions. And we're pretty evolved here on Earth, but we're kind of a drop in the bucket compared to what's going on up there in you know, in regard to what they're capable of doing. We're nowhere near the...
Do ETs have past lives too?
They do, but it's a totally different system. Earth is really the only system where we are aware of all our emotions. Many of these other galaxies are not able to, they're very evolved, but they can't feel emotions. Mm. They don't have the emotional capabilities that we do. So they're very evolved in certain aspects. But this is why Earth, we clamor to reincarnate back to Earth, because we're getting it all. And we're trying to master it all in a different way.
So is that why they always visit Earth, because they want to have what we have?
Well, they're really checking us out because they're trying to figure out, well, how are they really doing that? And, you know, we're doing this, but it's all kind of like all connected one way or the other. But yes, yeah.
So with reincarnation now, this is interesting because you do healings, and you did a session with me before we began here, and you told me I stood before Caesar.
Yes.
That's amazing. And on certain levels, that does speak to me, and especially with my Italian heritage, and I love Rome. Do you think it's important for all of us to be aware of our past lives, and then we can use it to the way we interrelate?
Many people will just say to me face to face, oh, why should I bother with the past? The past is the past. It's over and done with. What difference does it make? No, it makes a big difference, because your past lives are responsible for why you are who you are today. Your past lives are literally your psyche, your inner psyche. All of your past lives comprise your psyche and your soul. Your soul is all of your past lives. Every thought, word, action, and deed, every feeling, whatever, is embedded in the soul. And so the soul carries it through into each lifetime, and thusly then your past lives, you know, if you have the ability to remember some of them, or even if you don't remember some of them, and someone can access them for you as I'm able to, many times that little light bulb, the aha, goes off in your mind, and you can relate, and it starts making sense, and you start really realizing why you are who you are.
And the people that you're constantly, it's the same cast of players, perhaps, as souls, we keep using, having, you know what I mean, saying forging relationships with each other over a period of time.
We mostly reincarnate with the same groups, the soul groups, until the lessons are learned. But you do. That's why the karmic wheel keeps spinning, because you keep connecting and reconnecting with your family players, your children, your spouses, relatives, parents, whatever. Many times have been your brothers and sisters or your children. You know, they're your parents today, but they could have been your children before. And this is how it works. You're all experiencing the different roles which you had with each other.
Got it. Cool.
And that's how the soul learns.
That's great. Now, I had this, it was amazing to get this healing session from you. And I have a couple questions I wanted to ask you about it. I've never experienced anything like that, ever. And I've seen some weird stuff in my, and I'm not saying it was weird, let me say that, but it was definitely different. Yeah. You first started chanting. what language was that? And do you understand what you're saying when you're not in that frame of mind?
To a degree, yes. It's the language is more through vibrational flow, but it's really like the ancient tongue that's being brought through. So when I'm standing before someone and bringing that dialoguing through, even though you may not be understanding what I'm saying in that verbiage, your soul is understanding everything.
Yeah, so that's a tongue, not necessarily some sort of language or whatever.
It's more of a universal telepathic core language.
I got a ho at the end though. That was nice. I know what that is.
Yes.
That's the Sioux or the greeting. Your breathing. This is how I know this is not Eve doing this, because Eve would be on the floor. It's just physically impossible. The way you breathe, you'd be hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, you know, everything moves through the breath. And the breath is everything, of course. If we weren't breathing, we wouldn't be here. But it's the breath of life. And when a baby is born, the baby comes in on the first breath. The umbilical cord is cut, and the baby takes its first breath. And the soul enters the body at that moment only, when the breath begins. When we pass away, we take our final breath, and the soul leaves the body. So it's all controlled through the breath. So when I'm bringing through the healing, the breath is so rapid. First of all, it's keeping my physical body connected with the higher worlds. It's like acting as an antenna. But the breath is also helping you to cellularly release. It's acting as a big eraser, and it's wiping out, rubbing out what needs to be released. Doctors have called me in with situations that they have worked with the patient in the form of MRIs, X-rays, whatever tests they need to bring forth, and the test keeps showing negative, 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 but the patient is still, showing symptoms which isn't improving. So this is when they will call me in and say, what do you see, what do you think, what do you know? Many times I can energetically extract.
Yeah, I saw when you were doing the thing on me. But there were times where it was almost like you were going, like put a piece of gum on it, and twist it. I mean.
Well, that's a hot spot.
Oh, is that what that is?
It's a hot spot.
And sometimes these maladies or afflictions that we have as mortal humans, sometimes they can be perhaps symptomatic of something that's going on with the soul. I think I've heard you refer to children with ADD as having perhaps more than one soul.
Many of the children that are and adults that are carrying this challenge, they're carrying more than one soul within the body. So it's as if there's different, of course they're not consciously aware of this, but within the unconscious understanding, it's as if they're hearing different voices, which they're really not hearing those voices, but maybe they are. But maybe there's 3 other people inside of them telling them, go over here, no, do this, do that. And this is why the children are hyperactive. They can't sit still because they're being pulled and tugged in every which way.
If I can play devil's advocate for a second, why would there be more than one soul in there? I mean, if souls are in another dimension where they kind of understand everything, why would they each be, couldn't they just say, this is my turn, or this is yours, we understand how it's working? Why would they each be, especially if there's no such thing as time, really, it's sort of infinite, correct?
Yes. Say there's 2 or 3 souls that really wish to reincarnate, but the karmic board, there's a board up there that gives the approval when you are able to reincarnate. So therefore, these souls will piggyback with another soul, and they will allow them to come through in this way. So there's a group little effort there going on. But the soul that contracts to say, sure, come on with me, I'll carry you through this time, that soul can elevate themselves in the future due to allowing that piggyback effect that's going on now. So they will maybe cut to the chase and maybe eliminate 2 or 3 lifetimes by allowing that to happen. So they're kind of jumping a grade.
What's the relevance of synchronicity? I actually say there are no accidents in life, only collisions, right? So
yes.
Basically your philosophy is that this is all synchronicity. As a matter of fact, when you met Ernie, that was all synchronous as well, correct?
Yes, my cousin Ernie, as children, we were together on Sundays, the family tradition and visiting each other and so forth and so on. But then he became a huge success, and he was traveling with different positions with his profession. And so he was in one part of the country, I was in another part of the country, and so we kind of really, were separated in that way. And then he reconnected with me due to the death of passing of my husband. So he came to the funeral and so forth. And Ernie's been a major instrument with me as well. I'm very
right, and with the book.
Major.
Put this together.
I'm very thankful for Ernie in my life.
I've heard that your book is encoded. Can you explain that?
Vibrationally encoding. In other words, I have infused the energetic vibration within the words in this book. And so I have received letters in the mail thanking me after reading the book, that they fell asleep with the book, reading it in bed, and when they woke up, their aches and pains had left their body, and realizing that it was the book.
I got to sleep with this book. I tell you, that's the one thing I didn't do. I read it, but I didn't ever fall asleep with it.
Yeah.
Sorry, honey, I'm going to be cuddling like this. So you talked about my past life standing before Caesar, and
yes,
which is, I wish my grandfather were alive to tell him that. He'd be so proud of me.
You would be beckoned quite consistently. You stood before Caesar. You stood before many, helping many souls to relax and enjoy.
How do past lives, how are they important to us right now in this existence? How can they help us?
They help you heal. By knowing your past, you're able to understand who you are presently. It starts making sense. And your little aha in your mind kind of triggers, and it all falls into place. So knowing the past is extremely valuable for healing.
And the people that we're dealing with today in relationships we've dealt with in the past, these are the same souls, or no? Or we're just kind of still working out that fight that I had 500 years ago with this person, we're just continuing it now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
But we're not always in the same position, right?
No.
Sometimes you could
Many times the positions change and shift because we're all learning different aspects of the feelings we had from way back. Let's say, for example, someone was a foe with us in the past, and we really allowed them to feel not the best. Now this lifetime, they're going to have the opportunity, it's not tit for tat here, but now you're understanding that you're not feeling the best of what happened, what you projected towards them previously.
So, but somebody's going to have a rough one, because there's got to be somebody around here, or maybe not around here in New Jersey where we happen to be today, but there's somebody, demons in history, Hitler. Somebody is reincarnated as Hitler. Do you tell somebody that? By the way, you were this person. That's got to be rough. Do you ever see something like that when you do read past lives, that people are just animals? And
yes. But the valuable piece to that is when you've completed that lifetime, which let's say wasn't the best, and then you reincarnate, you did reincarnate because when you were on the other side, when your soul left your body, you elevated yourself through the love force principle. So now you're reincarnating in a more, hopefully, heightened, loving way.
Yeah.
So you're filling in that little spot that wasn't the best, and now you're improving.
Does every soul have to go through a period like that, a really dark period where they're just not
all
nice?
All of us.
We do.
It has to be. It's polarity. Oh. We can't just all be, well, of course Jesus was and so forth, but we're learning, through the different levels. Our soul's goal is to attain a Christ consciousness elevation.
Or Christ, or could you say Buddha? Or
exactly.
It's all connected.
The same. Yes.
Allah, God.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're all trying to achieve that. So this is why the polarity must be.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the most important aspect of White Buffalo Woman's work in this lifetime?
She represents peace. She is the...
Not so much healing then, more peace, or is that, again, all connected?
Well, world peace. It's world peace, unity. We are all the same, absolutely no discrimination, no matter who we are, no matter what our ethnic background is. We are all the same. We all carry the same red blood. We're all one and the same. And this is what this is really her main message: unity, oneness, love.
What could you share with our viewers then to help them on their daily path?
I really think it's diligence. It's your own will. It's definitely your will within. If you really want and desire to change something within yourself, you will take the steps and the actions to bring it forth. And many of us will try this, that, and whatever. But it's being diligent. The more diligent you are, you will see within yourself how you will gain speed with achieving what you need to achieve.
Do you agree with the philosophy that you should just allow life to happen instead of forcing things, or should you have desires and go for them, and then if something happens, try to work against life?
Yes, you must have your desires and your plans and so forth, but you must surrender to what the universe will give and show you. You must surrender. It is a matter of surrender. If you fight it, you'll never achieve it. You open yourself up to what you would like, and then you say to the universe, show me, teach me, I'm willing.
So then what matters most to I was going to say to White Buffalo Woman or to Eve, I'm not even sure what to call you, but what matters most to you? What is that imprint that you want to leave here in this lifetime?
I think truth. By being truthful and natural and not trying to force anything. But truth is the key with everything. Truth.
And there you have it. The truth. Those are words to live by. Eve Kerwin's inspirational work reads like the storybook of a woman who courageously took a leap of faith and overcame personal hardship and ridicule. She spoke the truth she was born to share with the world. Her life is a daily proclamation of inspiring a better tomorrow by reminding us all, once again, it's the simple things in life that matter most. Namaste.
Namaste. Aho.
Aho. Who you calling a hoe? that was good. Wow, Neil Peart, eat your heart out.